And back in Los Angeles, I'm joined now by Mr. Dean Janes. Of course, he is the CEO of Imaging3. IMGG is their stock symbol. Welcome back to California, Gene.
Thanks, Don. It's good to be back.
Now, you were in Chicago here recently at the RSNA show. I know you've been to that show just about every year.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience this time around.
Well, it was a good show, a good showing. We were in a fairly decent location, a little further in the back, but close, right next to Toshiba, which is always a good thing. Get a lot of traffic, but it was a good showing. It was important for us to be there, even though we're kind of mid-filing FDA. In the medical industry, it's kind of a sewing circle. Everyone, wants to make sure that you're still there, still viable. And, we set this up way in advance, so we're planning this in April and paying your deposit. So it was a good showing. We had, good traffic, and it was even interesting. We had some talks with a company that had a interesting potential new use for this, for the meat packing industry, which is really kind of interesting.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, automation for meat packing. They wanted to, they really liked our device for doing visualization for, I keep calling them cadavers, but carcasses.
Carcasses, okay.
But, it's always one of those kind of conversations in one of the shows, and, it's always interesting to be able to have another potential use for the product, not just in the medical industry. So it was really good, a good showing.
Well, there's nothing ever wrong with broadening your customer base. I mean, let's face it, especially if you can bring in another, another industry altogether. I would have to think that some of the people that you're talking to at the RSA are, putting a hand on your shoulder and saying, Dean, when we want to buy this darn thing? When's FDA going to happen? I'm sure you had those conversations.
Well, absolutely, and we've built a really good following over the years that we've been there, and it's very frustrating trying to translate that. But I think in our industry, people that are in the industry, really understand that there's been a change within the FDA, and that this process is much longer. So we got a lot of support and a lot of patients that are going through it. But of course, obviously, wanting to have the product out there.
Well, with everything that's been going on in the federal government and budget problems and not being able to agree on budget cuts and this kind of thing. I mean, we know that the wheels of government move like molasses in Vermont in winter. It's not out of the realm of possibility that 11 months from now we could see another administration change. Does that concern you going forward, or do you think things will be wrapped up by then?
Wow, it does concern us, but I think we're going to be ahead of that curve. I think we're really working on the FDA package right now, and there's been a lot of back and forth communication going on between the FDA without me, which is a really important element. Having consultants in here, you don't have a passionate CEO that wants to market the product and get out there and maybe even take things more personally than, say, a consultant could. And our consultants are former FDA employees. They speak their language, and I think that's really good. We're getting a lot of good feedback back and forth, and I think we're really lined up to do a really good package this time, this go around. That's
really interesting what you just said, about taking the passion out of it, being the CEO of the company. You've had 4 successful going-ons with the FDA in the past, so the frustration that you felt here these last couple of years, taking it out of those negotiations, I never realized how important that could be.
Well, absolutely, because obviously I can take things much more personal. I have a lot more vested into this product. Having someone that's dispassionate, only in the sense that, obviously they want to please me, but they can, have those conversations with the FDA or, the reviewers and be able to direct it in a different way than, say, I could, having that direct
well, and we talk about the passion. Every CEO I've talked to on this program in 16 years, they think of their company much the same way they think of their own children. And it is very emotional. It is very passionate. So that is an interesting thing. As we get into the new year, first quarter 2012, do we expect any developments or just continued negotiations?
Well, I really don't like giving the timeline for the FDA. I mean, we really,
we've learned not to do that.
Well, right. I just think, though, that our goal here isn't really so much of hurrying up and getting this done, is putting the quality and time into it and making sure that when we do file, that it is, I don't want to use bulletproof, but I mean, it is as good as it can be. That we've really addressed every issue, because honestly, I don't think you know, the market's really going to understand having this back and forth forever.
Okay.
You know, and we really want to invest the time and effort, you know, and we spent the money to go out and get, you know, solid, independent consultants to help us. So yeah, we really want to get this thing filed, you know, but we're going to make sure that it's spot on. And you know, to go back to that passion statement, you know, I mean, we've invested, CEOs of microcap companies have invested their lives into their company, so of course they'd have to be passionate about it.
Well, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Again, Imaging3, IMGG, Dean, great update. Thanks so much.
Thank you.